I ran. I'm like, eat these 2 Pop-Tarts, drink 4 ounces of water. She's like, what? I'm like, trust me. She eats them. And I said, all right, I'll be back in like 20, 30 minutes. I come back. I'm like, get a little pump. And she just exploded. And I'm like, there you go. Sodium, fat, carbs.
Yep.
And I mean, it's such a small amount of substance. It's why I like to use it.
It's a small volume of food.
It's a tiny amount of food that packs a huge punch. But again, if you're not in shape, you're just eating a Pop-Tart.
And then everybody's going to look at you and go, you dumbass.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Blood, Sweat, and Gear with coaches Skip Hill, Andrew Berry, myself, Scott McNally. And today, we're joined by Dusty Hanshaw. What's going on, man? Thanks for being here.
Thanks for letting me join.
Heck
this
yeah.
is my first time being on a podcast with Skip. We finally settled our differences, and we're good to go.
I saw you when I came. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited.
He doesn't hate me.
Yeah, exactly.
We got a bunch of fun stuff lined up today, guys. All of our programming is brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. Use our code ThinkOverThere for additional savings on high-quality, third-party tested supplements from a company that you can trust. We're brought to you by SupplementSource.ca for Canadians. They have great deals that change week to week. I just helped one of my clients get a big old tub of highly branched cyclic dextrin for $20 frickin' bucks on closeout over there. So if you're in Canada, definitely check them out. And thank you to Patreon, everybody who supports the show. Guys, we have a few Patreon questions today, but before we got into that and before we got into our listener critique, we've got a men's physique competitor who wanted a critique from us. We're going to do those things. But before we do, I wanted to take advantage of having Dusty on and kind of roundtable some training talk between the four of us. You know, we all came from progressive overload. We all came at, like, I wasn't great with strict DC. Like, the three of you had really good experience with that. That said, I'm no stranger to heavy progressive overload and HIIT training. From there, things evolve, and we continue to evolve our training to do what we need to do to continue growing our physiques as we continue to age, as we continue to develop. And one of the big things I thought would be a great place to start is looking at your training, Dusty. And some of the things are the same you've always done, but your leg training is vastly different. And I don't know how we're going to get into this, but I thought we'd just go with that to begin with. I mean, that's a huge difference, man. I mean, were you doing, outside of like Widowmakers, were you doing the high reps that you're doing now on legs ever back in your DC days?
No. When we started, it was very stereotypical DC, top set, back off set, Widowmaker on one movement. And it worked for a while, but then what I ran into was strength was going up, legs weren't getting bigger. And you know, you start like everybody. I was a big squatter in the beginning. That wasn't working, so we tossed squats. Then we changed movements. All right, let's get into the Smith. Let's put the feet way underneath, so we're really quad dominant, even going up on the toes. I mean, doing all sorts of things. And we just reached a point where we said the missing link is something. We don't want to go down in reps because I was at a point where adding more weight was probably dangerous. So the only other option was to go up. And I think that's the one spot that gets lost when people think about heavy training. The word heavy to people, I mean, I know you guys say this. You send to a client, I want you to go heavy. Oh, I can't do 5 reps. I'm like, I didn't say 5 reps. I said heavy. And heavy for 10 is not the same weight that's heavy for 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when we did those things, the progressive overload didn't go away, but a low rep range for me on the legs would be 20 for a long time.
20.
And that gave me a ton of blood volume and I started getting a ton of change. And then the other factor is when you're in that kind of rep range and you switch over, on accident, you switch off your ego because you're starting over. You're at 0. You have nothing to compare it to. So now you're saying, well, while we're doing this, let's also make sure we capture that 4 count negative. Let's make sure we're getting all the way in the hole. What are you driving out with? You know, you can start to pay attention to which muscles are moving weight. Because when you got 10 plates aside on a hack squat, you're just, okay, stand up. However I can stand up, I stand up. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll have to take your word on that because I've never had 10 plates on a hack squat. So I'm going to trust
it's more of like
that's what
a
it's
full
like.
body lift, like instead of a very focused quad dominant.
Yeah, you're just moving the weight.
Yeah.
And I
Point A to
mean,
point
yes,
B.
and that works for a lot of things, you know. And I think that the big thing that I try to hit with clients on is just because something works for one body part doesn't mean it works for your whole body.
Yeah.
And you could be very strong, you can have no injuries, your progression can be blatant, but if you're bodybuilding, if you're not getting bigger, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where you take that step back and you start picking things apart. What else can we do? And by the end, we settled in that a low rep set was 15, a high rep set was 50.
Oh,
Wow.
Yikes.
You know, and that,
That's
I also enjoyed that. I put a post up about that just this week. Is I think there's an extreme value to all of your training to doing things that are mentally difficult. Because 50 reps, we're not talking about, 20, 30, 40, 41, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50 done. We're talking 35, you're screwed. And now it's a set of 3 to get to 38.
yeah.
And a set of 2 to get to 40, and a set of 2 to get to 42. And by the end, the last 5 are like 1, breathe, 1. You know what I mean? Fighting all the way through. But I think that those things both worked for my quads, but they also impacted my mindset in attacking everything else. Because when you can do sadistic shit, you tend to slide that over into the other things you do too, you know?
Yeah, I could see that.
So were you saying that like every set almost in a sense kind of turns into a widowmaker in terms of like your mentality? Because like when you mentioned like, okay, I got to 35 and like my brain and body are spent, but I got 15 more because I said I'm doing 50 and I did 5 more reps and I got to take 2 or 3 more deep breaths. That's kind of reminded me of like the widowmaker type setup. Would you agree, or is there something
Yeah, and
different?
that's essentially what all of my training became, because it was the same at 15.
Yep.
You were spent at 10.
Gotcha.
And now you're getting 5 more, hell or high water. And I think that that's the area, that kind of training only works if you truly understand what you're capable of. Because, listen, if I put a weight on for anyone right now and say, get 50 reps, if I put 2 plates aside on a hack squat and you can do 6 plates aside, 50 will be hard with 2. You'll be burning, you'll want to stop. I couldn't possibly do 51. And it's like, yeah, you could. It's finding that difference in that mindset where you're like, you're going to get there. And there has been many times that the hack squat went down and did not come back up. Your spotter grabs the bar, he starts pulling, you're pushing, and all of a sudden it's starting to go back down anyways, and you got to wiggle your way out. But that's part of chasing something like that, And I just don't know that most people realize. You see that point when you watch someone train where you see their brain tell them they're done.
Yeah.
And they squeak out a rep, and it's a hard rep. You're not saying it's not. But, I always go back to that, like, moniker of, like, okay, so if I put a gun to your head and said, get 2 more reps, you're telling me you'd rather I pulled the trigger than you went for it?
Yeah.
And people would find 2 more reps if their life depended on it.
Yeah.
And I tell my clients all the time, I want to be able to put that gun to your head and tell you that, and you say, pull it. It's impossible to do 1 more rep.
Yeah.
Would you say that this whole approach has kind of been liberating in the sense of like, oh, I have, like you said, if you're a 6-plate squatter and you get 20 hack squatter, you can get 20 reps with that. But now you're, like you said, you put 2 plates on, you got to get 50. And like you said, anybody putting 2 plates on and trying to get 50 the first time, their legs are going to be screaming.
Yeah.
So would you say it's almost liberating because you're like, oh, I have so much room to progress again?
Yeah, it makes it fun. And you, just like we all know this, intensity is something that improves over time. Like if you came into the gym right when you knew your way around and you were really intense, what your intensity was then versus 2 years from then is very different. 4 years from then, very different. It's something that continues to climb up. And I think that that's an area too where you realize after your first 4 or 5 workouts on something, you're like, as hard as I'm working, there's more there. And you get better at finding it, and it's not until those times where you literally fail and you're like, no, I didn't stop. Like it just wouldn't go back up, that you start to figure out, okay, this is truly your line, And it requires a different type of focus too, because you're setting a weight where you're not saving anything, but the thing you have to do is controlling your breathing, controlling, like, when you see the kids running around the gym, I shouldn't say kids, the people running around the gym and they're so amped up before they start their set, well, they're already screwed.
Yep.
Because it's like, I used to sit down, unrack the weight, close my eyes. I'd do the first 10 reps with my eyes closed. I'm just in this zone, up and down. It's almost like a trance training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you need to control all that. That breathing starts going bad at 20. You're not making it to 50, and it's not because of strength. It's because you can't breathe. Mm-hmm. So there's a huge benefit to all those things. And like you said, then it gets really fun because by the end, you're training with weights that are starting to look eerily similar to what you were doing for 20 when you're getting 40.
Yeah.
And they're getting back to like those respectable weights that like you don't mind if your buddy walks by and sees what's on the bar. You know what you know what I'm getting at?
Every now and then you shout out 35 just to make sure they know.
So walk us through like what's a typical leg day look like now, from like start to finish.
Now I'm gonna have to go pre-surgery, pre-stem cells because I'm just getting back now. Okay. Which, by the way, plug for the stem cells, changed my life.
That's so cool.
Saturday was 24 days. It was the first time that I was just training legs.
Okay.
I didn't think about my knee anymore. I was just moving weight, and I'm like, okay, this is about to get fun again. So absolutely mind-boggling what those did. Got 5 million units put in, and they told me, you won't see anything until about 6 weeks. And it was by 2.5 weeks, I was seeing range of motion changes. And by just over 3, it's mind-boggling. But
nice.
So
did you try PRP first, or did you go straight to stem cell?
Well, I'd done PRP in my shoulder before and in my elbow.
How'd that work?
Good, but my elbow was gone, totally handled. The knee, actually, I didn't get injured until last year. And at this point, I was like, I'm retired. I don't need to be a little better. I had a surgery done, and it was very obvious. I mean, I was limping as recently as the Arnold Classic.
Yeah.
Still. And that surgery was in September, October last year. And I still had a blatant limp. And the biggest thing that bothered me at that point was, am I going to limp the rest of my life? Like, is walking going to hurt forever? And it was comical because, of course, you do all the crazy things that we've done, and the injury is just a fluke thing, turning in the bathroom and your knee goes click. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, what was that? And then you find out later, you're like, oh, that's a tear. But if I could rewind now after the stem cells, I would have never gotten the surgery. They would have fixed it.
That's wild, man.
So
that's wild.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
Pre-knee then, let's say.
Yeah, so I would go in. It was still a very normal DC setup. So you would start out with one of your blatant. So I'd always start with like a hack or something like that. Get very warm, and then, like I said, a top set would be 20 reps, which meant I was trying to be right around failure, about 15.
Okay.
Then my second set would be a 25. Then when we went over to like a leg press, the opener was a 30, second was a 30, and then we finished with a 50.
Whew.
Now they all to failure.
All to failure.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
Would you do hams and stuff first, or do you go right to that hack?
I always did hams first. So
okay.
And for those, I had really good luck. I really enjoyed it, and this is again back to the one muscle versus the other. My favorite hamstring movement, aside from an RDL, was a John Meadows special, which was load. Get warmed up, 6 reps. Stand up, drop the weight a hair, 6 reps, stand up, drop the weight a hair, 6 reps, stand up, drop the weight a hair, 6 reps, go again. And then immediately after that one, you'd stand up, drop like 2 more plates again, and do 30 partials off the bottom. And I felt like my hams were going to explode doing that. Mm-hmm. So I always did that first, whether it would be that, RDLs, or what is those, what's the old school, off the edge of like a pull down bench where you put your heels underneath.
I've heard them called hand killers before. I don't know what you guys
Nordic curls?
Nordic curls.
Yeah, Nordic curls.
Nordic
yeah,
curls,
I used to do those all the time.
Yeah,
and those were absolutely brutal.
Okay.
And I didn't hold a stick or anything. You just go down and do it, and your partner would just make sure you keep moving.
Yeah.
Those were my 3 staples for hams before starting something like that.
Gotcha.
And I think the sheer volume, and again with all those, it's only 5 sets, but those are 5 sets to absolute failure. You don't need more.
That's it then. So
I was smoked.
You're starting with the hams. You're doing the stuff you just mentioned. Then you do the hack squat, then the leg press, and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You start with the calves, but obviously, I always did calves first because if not, you wouldn't do them.
Okay. So calves then.
Trust me.
After
After that set of 50, you're going home no matter what is left.
Yeah.
But that was it. I mean, it just at the end of the day, the thing that Dante always hammered down was, let's get weird. This isn't working. What else can we do? And I think that's what's gotten lost in the day of absolutes that we have now. I can only imagine anyone who's 16 to 22 listening to this that's turned the show off already, because we're absolutely frying the CNS and every other thing that they say is horrible.
Right.
But it really comes down to results, and I think that's the area people have to ask themselves. If you can't see measurable change in your physique in a month, something's wrong. I'm saying that with your whole physique.
Yeah.
But if you've went 6 months training your face off with your legs, and you're progressing in every way, and they're not getting bigger, you have to ask yourself, something has to change. Dorian Yates that was his whole obsession. If you only have 12 months between shows and you spend 6 months on the same thing and nothing's happening with your legs, you're really going to grind out another 6 and hope it starts to work?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question.
When did you make the transition to the pendulum from hacks and that? I know it's been a while, but I remember seeing that.
The pendulum became
this is a good call.
Yeah, that was that was something we did probably 2014. It was that hacks and then Smith squats were like the 3 staples, and pendulum is my absolute favorite. That was a piece when Lance at Muscle Factory first got money to buy a machine. He's like, okay, I can only get one new thing. What are we getting? And I told him to pick up the hack that Atlantis makes, and that poor thing. Because by the end, I think it held 7 plates.
The
on
pendulum
the bar, and and by the end we had 7 on it and 2 on top strapped into place. But yeah, that's just a great. And that piece was always really good on my knees, and you can bury it very, very easily. So great piece. But I think that's the thing. What do you guys think about tweaks to your training when you see those things?
I'm kind of in the same boat you are, especially right now. I'm actually really in the same boat as you are. I think I tore my meniscus the other day, actually, doing hacks, or 2 weeks ago, because then, it's one of those things where like you can't bend it and you can't straighten it, and it's like that for a few days. But then I was able to train legs again the other day, and I was like, I didn't go as high in the reps that you were talking about, but I'm like, I'm not doing anything pressing less than 20 reps. So, our 2 main movements, my training partner is a figure pro. Actually, we started out with Bulgarian split squats, because I wanted to do something that wasn't going to use a huge load,
Right.
And kind of see how it was going. And then we moved to a leg press, and every set was 20 reps with like a 3-second negative. And then every set was on the hack squat, we only did 2 working sets of 20 reps. And I got to tell you, like I'm sore today, and I haven't really been sore on legs in months. Now, someone listening to this will be like, well, it's just because you changed the stimulus up this one time. It's like, well, yeah, but it also gives me now a new set point for progression, Yep. And after listening to what you're talking about going as high as 50 reps, it's really kind of getting me thinking, like, okay, instead of using the weight as my variable to titrate up, next week I'm going to try to get 22 reps on my working sets, or 24 reps, and then 28, and then 30, and try to push it up to like the 50, like you mentioned. So this is giving me some good ideas too.
I want to ask you
At the end of the
something.
day, that's your progression, right? I always picked a line of, like when you're doing 30, if you've got X amount of plates on and you squeak out 30 reps, you can't just add a plate to each side and get 30 next week.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go up and wait until I got 35.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'm like, okay, now we can go up. And I might fail at 28, truly can't get another rep. And that's okay, because now we're like, all right, again, I've got 7 reps to give with this weight until we go up again. I hate when people pick weights, and I know you guys have all seen this. You tell a client, all right, we're doing 12 to 15, and you see them, and it's like 13, 14, 15, rack. And you're like,
yeah,
bro, you didn't even slow down. They're like, well, I got to 15. I'm like, that's not what it means.
Yeah.
So in a perfect world, it's the same. I mean, with what you're doing now, you might find next week, just with your mindset, you get 24 because you're a little more prepared for it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, all right, well then chances are at this point I could throw a quarter on there and fight for my life to get to 20 again,
Mm-hmm. I've got a question, and I wanted to kind of get all your guys' opinion on it. And it's, so, everybody that I work with, just about all of them, watch the podcasts. And a lot of guys are into training hard, training heavy. But there's a disconnect, because when I have them send me training, one of the things that I commonly see is a guy going for a 12 rep set or a 10 rep set, and he gets maybe 3 reps, and then he stops and he locks it out and he pauses for a minute and he takes a few breaths, and then he gets one more, and then he stops and locks it out, pauses for a minute, and then gets one more. And I feel like by the end of that 12 rep set, it's looking pretty scary. It's almost like a whole set of singles, you know what I mean? And the way I try to explain it to him is that you're really kind of taking a break. I want to try to get as many constant reps as we can. But what are we looking for? Like, Dusty, let's say you're getting a 30 rep set, and constant reps aren't just like bouncing up and down real fast. You're driving up hard and then controlling the negative, driving up hard and controlling the negative. But there isn't like this big long pause at rep 4 and at rep 5 and on. How many constant reps do you figure you're getting in a 30 rep set?
Well, first off, if you're not getting at least half of the reps without pausing, it's too much.
Yeah.
Second thing is the pauses have to be the same also. Like, I didn't lock out the top and eat a snack. The max, I would take the maximum 3 breaths and you go again.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's part of your rhythm. You get to the top, all right, one more, I'm going to pause, but it's like, go.
Yeah.
That third breath, when I pull in, we're going back down again. I mean, because I see guys do that too. I mean, they get to the top and I'm like, are we done? What's happening? You've stopped training. And it's like, no, you're getting oxygen back into the muscle, and then you go again. It's a quick breath, and it has to be part of the plan, especially when you're in the higher reps. If you're hyperventilating on those breaths, they're not helping you.
Yeah.
They're hurting you. It's a very strict, like I said, in the beginning, it might just be come up, back down, and at the very end, it's 3 breaths every time I stop, and then we go again. You can't be waiting longer than that. So when you see guys stopping at 3, well, what the hell does the pause look like at 6?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, they got a 15-minute set to 10?
I always say that the breaths are taken, speaking for myself, the breaths are taken so that I don't pass out, not so I can extend the set for the next 4 minutes.
Yeah. Right. I've had times where, when you're in a higher rep set, you're belted in because it's still heavy and you're hacking. And I mean, I've had multiple times where, like, by the end, during that 3 breaths, I'm undoing my belt. I'm like, this thing has to get off of me. Like, I can't have this restricting me anymore to get these last 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great point, Scott. So I mean, if we're talking about 10 reps, I don't think you should be paused until at least 6.
Okay. I would almost say I don't even really want to see a pause. I don't feel like a 10 rep set. Typically, you should even be pausing until like 8, 9, maybe on that last one to get one more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I think of the pauses more for like the 20 rep sets or 15 rep sets, something a little bit higher in volume. And another point I was going to make: it's really good, or it's really easy when you're coaching someone up on a set, right? Like maybe they're doing your training and they joined you, and okay, we're going to do 20 reps today on this hack squat. You're going to go all out, and you're watching them, and you're like, okay, pause here, take a deep breath. take 2, and then like they get 2 or 3 more reps. You're like, okay, now I want 2 more deep breaths, and then you're like telling them go. So you're kind of like coaching them up in the same way you would be doing it in your mindset. If you guys can imagine that, like you're kind of like that ear, that sound in their ear, like, okay, now you take a breath, and now you get your cadence back, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the cadence is huge because when we were really strict with DC, we did not a 4-second, but a 4-count negative.
Yeah.
So it's like 4, 3, 2, up. And it was the spotter's job to do the count.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that way you had to stay your negative with their count.
Yeah.
They didn't speed up or slow down on their counting, so you were paying attention. And that way, if you were hitting ass to grass when they were on 2, you're like, I'm a 1 count early here. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that really helped control it. Plus, as you know, and I train alone mostly now, so if I'm doing a negative or something, it's a bit of a pain in the ass because you're both pushing and counting. It's 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 2. You got so much shit going on when you really just need to be pushing.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's enormous if you have that luxury of a training partner. Because there were times when I'd have to tell my training partner, you sped up. Like his count started speeding up because he saw me struggling. I'm like, no. Like, you know, stay on that. So it's game changing. But you're right. It's all about understanding. I mean, a 10 rep set is not a widowmaker, and that's how they're treating it if they're pausing at 3.
That's what I'm getting at. That's what I was getting
and
at.
in my opinion, you're just too heavy, and it's funny, but when you coach people, it usually starts out they don't train heavy enough. And then all of a sudden you're watching them and now it's too heavy. And you're like, oh man, I feel bad right now because now I got to tell you the opposite. And they're like, dude, for 6 months you were telling me I was training too light. And I'm like, yeah, but that didn't look like a set.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, everything we're talking about is very, it's a machine. You're not really moving too much. But I mean, I just told the guy today because he was going a little too light. I'm like, listen, you're going for, 10 reps. 8 should be perfect. And then 9 and 10 can be 85 to 90% perfect. Put a little body English in it. Like, it's better than leaving them on the table.
Yeah.
But understand that if that sloppiness starts, drifting into rep 6, it's too heavy.
I would agree.
And that's all based on your baseline of what a rep is. Like, if somebody saw me doing dead stop rows, they'd be like, well, they're all ugly. I'm like, yeah, but the last 2 are uglier.
It's relative, yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys? I wanted to take a break from the podcast and do something that would be a little bit different to keep you entertained while I do my True Nutrition ad. So I brought Maddie with me. I want to let you know. Oh, she doesn't like the mic. I want to let you know that the code THINK now offers 10% off at True Nutrition. That's the main thing I want to tell you. I talked to the people over there. We got that set up, and now I get commission on orders. So I get 5% off, or you guys get 10% off. I collect 5% commission. There's people coming. Don't you bark. There's a dog walking by. It's okay. You're all right. Anyway, I'm going to put a link in the description, and I think that if you use that link, it'll put the code in automatically. But it's code THINK. It helps to support the show. You guys get awesome supplements in the process. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to place an order myself this weekend for the cookie butter flavored whey isolate cold filtered. Maddie, she's got nothing to say on that one. Anyway, that's it, guys. We appreciate you guys watching the shows. Appreciate you supporting the programs. Let's get back to it. We had a Physique Critique lined up here. Let me see if I can pull this up. Where are we at here? Oh, I have to open this on, never mind. I forgot.
Oh, boy.
I forgot I had to open this on.
Scott's new here.
No, you know what? I can do that. Never mind. I can do that. All right. I'm still trying to get this program down. I am not as slick as I was before. Here we go. All right. So it turns out this guy was at the Michigan State Championships too. Timmy English, he competed there, and I didn't see him. It was a good turnout, and he asked over in the Facebook group if we did Physique Critiques anymore, and I said, yeah, normally we will offer them first to the people at Patreon, but I was like, why don't we toss this up here today? We could be happy to to do one for you. So he's got a bunch of pictures, but I figured it looks like these are his front and his rear pose for his division. So I'd show you those two first, and then here's kind of a twist shot. He wanted to show the leg conditioning overall. I think he said,
leg conditioning, you better join the, you better go classic or bodybuilding, my friend.
I think he said he's 6'1", and I can find out what his weight was. But yeah, you guys are welcome to, whoever wants to jump in first. I'll go back to these two shots, and you can tell me.
I've been talking a ton. I'll talk last.
All right. What do you think, Skip?
Well, he's got this. He's got the Skip shoulder to waist ratio, so that's already going against him. So
Me too.
Which doesn't mean that you can't, that he can't work with it, that he can't continue to improve on it. But it's going to take a lot of, with narrow clavicles, and I know this story all too well. He's got to pack on meat, more meat up around the shoulders and upper back and chest and that sort of thing to try to, accentuate that shoulder to waist ratio. But as far as conditioning and everything else, and structurally, I mean, he does have he's clearly in the right division. Conditioning is great and everything else. It's just going to be, I think, a process to continue to improve and move up in placings and move up in shows that he's just going to have to widen himself up top, do the shoulders, chest, and back. Conditioning is great.
Yeah, I'll take over from there. First off, with what you said, Skip, about the shoulder to waist ratio, he should never hit a front on shot in classic or men's physique. Like, show that that kind of side shot that he was doing.
Yep.
If you could. So
Yeah,
he needs to make his
yeah.
front shot in between that front on, like front relaxed, and then this, where he's got to turn the shoulders a little bit more.
Yep.
And basically his belly button should be like at 45 degrees, or let's say
Yep.
pointing closer to 3 o'clock, and then his shoulders should twist to make that waist look smaller. That's how he's going to overcome the genetic limitations. And then you can also see he's got pretty good obliques. It's going to show those off a lot more. And as we know, men's physique is all about abs and obliques. You really got to have that tissue. And then secondarily, he needs to work the legs. And I know it's not a division where you show the legs, but they are putting emphasis on having a complete physique, quads filling out the shorts a little bit more, being able to see not striations through the shorts or anything, but they want to see like some quad shape in the lower body. So I would hit the legs harder. I don't know if he's training his legs right now, but some tighter shorts too would actually accentuate that look a little bit. Mm-hmm. Can you go on that back shot for a minute?
Sure. Yeah. Or hit the bring the legs up and then make the shorts fit. How about that?
Do that too.
I like that.
And then just overall posing. I think a lot of people just don't realize how important posing is in the sports now, because you go to any even local shows, like most of the top 5 people in all divisions have a posing coach that are really working with them and dialing their poses in. Like this one, the right leg all the way out to the side there, that's too wide of a stance, and it kind of gives them this leaning Tower of Pisa type look. Mm-hmm. You got to even that up a little bit, and the shoulders need to be square. But yeah, in terms of muscularity, I would put a lot of emphasis in the back. More stuff going on in the rhomboids, traps, and just kind of just another year of density and building, really.
Eating.
When I look at his back in particular, my knee jerk is that he's not doing the shit that no one wants to do.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's been a lost art with what you see on Instagram from top people is dangerous. Because 2 things. Number 1, you're seeing genetically elite people. Number 2, you're seeing what they're doing now, not necessarily what put that muscle on them in the first place. So I would want to see him doing heavy barbell rows. All the way down to deadlifts. It's a myth that your waist will get bigger from deadlifts. Your waist is, already your shoulder to waist ratio isn't great right now. It's not going to get worse, and the improvements that you're going to make down your whole back, your low back. If you're deadlifting for bodybuilding, people ask all the time, like, well, what are you trying to hit there? I'm like, everything. I'm hitting my whole body. So I would want to see some real meat and potato movements. Someone like him, when I look at the lats, if your lats get wider, you will look wider. So you should definitely be hitting a proper rack chin. I would be doing pull-ups on the regular. I mean, Seth Feroce talked about that just the other day. He didn't have lats for a long time, just had no width. So the start of every back workout was 100 pull-ups, 10 sets of 10.
Wow.
And sounds like overkill, but just like we were talking about a minute ago, he's like, I was already geared to the gills. I was already eating everything. I was already training hard. So I had to come up with something different. And this terrible idea worked.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that those would be my staples. And I'd be thinking about that on all of your training. You know, when you look at the top physiques, male, female, by division, doesn't matter. You're going to notice that they all train at some level on just the basic bulk building, if that's what you're looking to do. I see people, and this is an assumption, he could be doing these things. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But this is not a time for a scalpel. This is a time for a sledgehammer.
It's a good way to put it.
Yep. I think that's all good. I agree with everything you guys said. And he worked with Tommy John, Skip, for this show.
I don't know that guy.
I know who he is. Oh, do you work with him, Skip?
Right? Yeah, he's a good friend of mine too.
He's got a good physique.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He absolutely does. Yeah, good guy.
Yeah, good dude.
guy too.
I met him at
Yeah, he
Swiss
is.
the other year.
Okay.
Yeah.
He had a contest season last year, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he looked pretty good.
Milwaukee. Yep.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of stuff. Andrew, you grabbed a bunch of questions. We had a bunch of questions that were also left on, what was it, Patreon and everywhere else. I'm going to see if I can jump to a couple Patreon questions here, see if I can find those. Here's one. We got this on, what do you call it, Blood, Sweat, and Gear, too. I wanted to see if you guys had any answers because we didn't have anything super solid. Chelsea, she said she has a client whose face is starting to turn bright red on their first cycle of low-dose test in DECA. So it's not a blood pressure thing. It's early on, like pretty much instantaneous, you know, within the first week or two that's happening. Blood pressure is good. So I don't think it's hematocrit because it's so early into the cycle. Do you guys have any thoughts on what could be causing this?
Did they add niacin in to like try to counteract HDL maybe?
I don't know.
I mean, that'll turn your body and face bright red if you're using the...
Just do what Skip does. Then you won't be red ever again.
Wear makeup. Oh, tan. Okay. I thought you were going the makeup route.
I was being literal, Skip. Jeez. You're so ready for my sarcasm that you just go to it. No, I mean, if it's something like that, without more information, it's really hard to guesstimate because the things that would make me worry can't exist yet. So, for lack of terms, if there's not the niacin that's been added in or something like that, I wouldn't worry about it. And everyone should be testing their blood pressure at least every couple of days. So,
and it's only on the face. It's not anywhere else.
Well, that's what she mentioned. I think she just said those skin. I may use the word face, but skin.
Because I even wonder if it's like things to ask or things to check would be, is it constant? Is it at a specific time of the day? Is it early in the day? Is it post-training? Is it after a meal? After coming out of the tanner? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, to try to see if there is some type of connection that it could be. I don't want to say not related to the gear because it sounds like it's at least correlative, but sometimes it can be a combination of a couple things. So it could be maybe started the gear and they take their supplements in the morning and they have this within the next hour or two, you know, something like that. Just going off of, you know, what Andrew was saying, something along the niacin type of
an ancillary
issue. And I don't know what it looks like. Is it like rosacea? Is it, you know, is it blotchy? Is it?
Yeah. You need a lot more info to give a great answer on that.
And we're not doctors, and we don't play doctors on the internet, so there is that too. I understand they're just asking for an opinion. Exactly. So you're good for 24 hours.
Yeah. The only other thing I'm thinking about is, you know, sometimes people do have allergic reaction to some injections, particularly, like when usually they're peptide based, when people have like those welts that aren't just like from depositing of the fluid, they kind of get like a little bit of a rash like symptom going on for a few days. Maybe there's something in the oil. Maybe they're not. Maybe if it's cottonseed, their body doesn't like cottonseed, or if it's grapeseed, their body doesn't like grapeseed.
Do they start anything else when they started the cycle? As well. Could it be an ancillary? Could it be melanotan? I mean, you never know.
They take PT 141 and all of a sudden, have a nice flushing effect. Yeah, I don't know. That would be one that I don't think I've seen.
I haven't seen that in 20 years.
I started a cycle and I had these really strong erections.
It doesn't.
I started Cialis too.
There's that.
I forgot about the Cialis. I just naturally assumed it was the cycle.
Exactly. Yeah.
Welcome back, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I think we wrapped up that question.
All right, Andrew, you've got the questions too, or a bunch of them. So if I get kicked off and we need another one, just grab what you think looks good.
I got some loaded as well now, just in case.
All right, cool.
That's what I was doing while you were gone.
All right.
I have 12 questions about cats, so go ahead and dip out again and see what happens.
I have it's kind of an interesting one. It's one we haven't gotten before. And there is one line, he says, glances at the AC vent. That part doesn't make sense. You'll hear it when I read it. He says, hey guys, my friend's son is going through puberty and is experiencing some issues. He can't stop flexing in the mirror, slamming protein bars, and casting suspicious glances at the AC vent above his dresser. Classic steroid behavior, as I understand it. And I think that his dad is in denial. How do I broach the subject without damaging our relationship or giving away my position? Thanks for all the great content.
Hey, I noticed your son's manning up lately. I really like it. Oh, sorry. This is supposed to be a worry thing. My bad.
Yeah. Yes, Dusty. We're very
I was
worried.
immediately proud. I was like, oh, good job, kid.
We're very worried for it.
I like the the AC vent thing.
Yeah, what if he was staring at like, I don't know, like the shower vent or,
Well, the AC vent makes sense to me, though. He's hot now.
Oh, I see.
He wants the AC to kick on.
That does make sense now.
I think that was the underlying humor there.
I get it.
Well, I'm not.
What were you going to say, Skip?
Nope.
Come on. If you start, you have to. That's a rule.
I know, but you guys know me well enough that when I do, on the rare occasion that I stop myself, I need to stop myself. Yes.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't want to put you in that position then be like, oh, God, I didn't think he was going to say that.
We can't edit it semi-live.
I don't want to put you guys in that position. That was more of what I was thinking.
All right.
I honestly, I mean, if that was something that I was concerned about, I would ask. I mean, I don't know how old did they say the kid is.
Just hit puberty. So in today's day and age, that might be anywhere from 10 to 15 delayed puberty from estrogen. 17 due to estrogens in the water.
I feel strongly that the odds that this kid has a way to get illegal drugs at 12 to 15 years old are pretty low. Maybe he's just reached. Well, where would he get the money? His dad noticing that $250 was missing.
Maybe it's just puberty, and he's reacting like he's on steroids because his testosterone levels are higher.
Or maybe he just discovered that he wants to put on muscle, and now he's. I mean, let's be honest. When you started your career in bodybuilding, you looked in the mirror a lot more than you did once you were good.
Sure.
So.
True.
I wouldn't. I mean, but if I was actually worried, I would ask because. I talk to kids about it all the time because I'm very open and, like even the girls' friends. And I'm like, not now. You're not doing anything else right. Here's all the list of things that can go wrong. And if you threaten the functioning of his, trust me, he'll stop.
Yeah, that's true too, right?
It's funny, actually, this post, now I think about it, you could be describing my brother's kid to a T. Like, as soon as he hit 12, he started, like, he found out about sebum. and he started hitting classic poses in the mirror. My brother sends them to me all the time. He's actually got a pretty good physique. He could be a good classic kid someday. And then he started 14, and he's like, wants to be an online coach. And he starts asking me about this and that, including about PEDs. And I'm like, ask your father. I'm not talking about that. Okay?
Not touching that yet.
He tells me he's charging some of his friends $25 a month to write their diets for him.
Not a boy. Not a boy.
He's writing training programs. And
I'm so proud of this kid.
Yeah, I told him, like, look, if he really wants to do this when he's done college, I'll take him on as an apprentice and, show him some stuff, but not until then. I'm not going to mention PEDs. But he sent me a funny one last week. It was like, hey, quick question. If you take a shot of testosterone, the next time you jizz on a girl, is it all going to come out on her? And I was just like, I don't know how to answer this kid.
You told him yes, right?
What's that?
You told him yes, right?
I said, ask your father.
It's an amazing question.
This is.
I love how it's specific. Next time you just on a girl,
on a girl,
is it going to come out on her?
Was it not currently? Never mind.
Here's an important one for me, selfishly. Somebody asked, but I want to know what you guys think. Anyone here use sourdough bread consistently as a carb source?
That was sourdough bread for anybody who didn't hear it.
Gotcha.
Seriously?
Oh, did I break up?
Yeah.
Am I breaking up now?
Yeah,
I
it's
remember
like
the
a
question.
Chris Cito text, so I can hear them.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought you were kidding. I'm like, how did you get sourdough bread out of it?
Consistent use of sourdough bread, any of us, and me, no.
I'll eat it for periods of time. Yeah, and I'll throw it in clients' plans too.
I like Taste Killer bread. It's delicious.
It is good, but my go-to right now, my favorite part of my cheat meal, you guys will appreciate this because, like when you first get in cheat, when you're younger, you're like, oh man, Burger King or Taco Bell. I don't give a fuck about anything like that. I am far more highbrow than that. But this is the best part of my cheat. I get a loaf of ciabatta bread. It's organic, not that it matters, and then I cut it into thick pieces. Then I have to cut the one side off just a little bit so that it fits into the toaster. I toast them. I put literally, I don't want to say I drown it, but I put enough butter in there that it would make most people shit their pants. and then I cover it with warm cashew butter. Ooh. And I'm just telling you, it is so divine that I have to fight myself to stop eating it. I will make myself sick on it. It's just because I don't have any fat in any of the other high carb meals during the day.
Yeah.
Right.
So by the time that meal comes around, bitch, I want fat. I don't want more carbs. And it's just running on. I mean, there'll be a pool of melted Kerrygold butter on the plate. It's pathetic. But it's so good. That's the only time. I'm not a big bread fan otherwise. And I will say this. I stayed on accident. I didn't have any gluten for 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
And then I ate some toast. And I'm telling you, I had violent stomach cramps.
Oh.
So I did go back, and it pained me to say this, but I did go back and revisit the whole gluten thing and say, at least I can see that most people think they're much like you're lactose tolerant. Like, oh, just because you don't shit your pants after you eat something that's dairy doesn't mean that you're not necessarily lactose tolerant.
That's what I was going to get at,
kind of
too,
tolerate
man.
it. But when you take gluten out and you put it back in,
yep,
I'm telling you, you'll be surprised because it was pretty inflammatory.
Dude, so here's what I've noticed, and I hate to say this because I love bread, but every time I've cut bread out and I can keep the same amount of carbs in, like I can move it to oats for meal one, right? Every time I cut bread out, my midsection automatically improves within 2 weeks. Like, I don't have to change anything else. It's one of my things I've always done when I've dieted. And I kind of, I get lazy when I'm not dieting. And I'm like, yeah, it's a carb. I love bread. I'll make an egg sandwich in the morning, all that. Anyway, I've cut bread out again. And I'm accepting that I do have, I'm not celiac, but I've got some level of, some level of inflammation in there.
I think most people do and they don't know it.
And that's
God
the
didn't
thing.
love you.
That's the
God
thing with
doesn't love you.
sourdough bread is that at least if you make it yourself. So I did some research, and a lot of the commercially available sourdough bread, it's just regular bread spiked with vinegar to give it the flavor. So you really can't get the cultured stuff easily. I mean, I'm sure there's probably specialty places, and maybe Whole Foods has it, but your local grocery store doesn't. It's most likely a mass-produced product. Anyway, I know Peyton, his significant other, I don't know, fiance or girlfriend,
Wife.
Eva.
Yeah.
It is his wife. Okay, I wasn't sure where they
She's to me.
stood. All right, I just knew they were partners. So, but she makes it. She brought me a giant loaf to the Arnold, and ever since that, I ate that.
I was
I'm
there.
like-
I didn't get one.
I was like,
Bullshit.
well, she.
I
Yeah,
hope she sees this. I'm hurt. I'm hurt.
Yeah.
I will say this. I mean, not on the sourdough subject, but just to show how different bodies are. My first year with Aceto, by the end of my USA's prep, I was having 6 slices of toast with breakfast every day.
nice.
Like every day. And I remember because I was newer to the game and didn't understand the way things worked. I'm like, so when are we pulling the bread? He's like, do you look good now? I'm like, yeah. He goes, we're never pulling the bread.
Yeah.
Never pulling it.
That is funny because I had a couple first timers 2 weeks ago, and they were asking, and they were in a female division. They're like, "So what are we doing the water cut? When are we doing? You know, when are we?
Yeah.
Oh,
When the
no,
oil
one's
base
like,
get pulled, where's the?
yeah. What are we doing the burger and fries? Like, what time is that at?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, well, my friend, she told me that her coach, her first time had her. I'm like, well. Yeah, no. Like, your friend probably looked like crap, and they didn't look at how you looked the week before and just ride in the same foods that were working for you,
I like the burger and fries after finals. It's really good.
Yeah.
After finals or prejudging?
Finals.
Finals.
The show's over.
Nah.
Have whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, it's like, it's one of those things. It's like, okay, you didn't make first call outs. Sometimes you're like, go to burger and fries. Let's just see how you look.
Right.
And sometimes you're like, oh shit. Like, now there's a lot of variables, right? Cortisol's gone because
Right.
the experience of, they've hit the stage. Maybe that stress relief, they got a nap in. We introduce a little more water again. There's so many variables, but sometimes you throw a burger and fries in after prejudge, and you're like, oh, you're like a different athlete now. Like, let's see if the judges will do a rejudge tonight.
Yeah.
That was my first prep with Chris because I hired him and we went 9 months. And I was coming up on my anniversary, and we were going to be starting the prep like 12 weeks later or something. And I said, "Hey, Chris, is it okay if I have a cheat meal tonight?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" And I said, well, "Can I have a cheat meal?" And he's like, "You haven't had any this whole time?" I'm like, "You didn't tell me to." And he's like, "Okay, but do me a favor. Have the cheat meal, have whatever you want, and then tomorrow morning send me pictures." And I said, okay.
Perfect.
So I went off the rails.
Yeah.
Like, we had a meal, we got done, we went back to the hotel room, I ordered a pizza. You should add some wings to that pizza. I mean, it was horrendous. And I woke up the next morning, I sent him pictures. He texted me back, "The cheat meal is every weekend." I'm like, so I text back, "Does it have to be as awful as it was last night?" He's like, "What'd you do?" I told him. He goes, "Oh no, we don't ever have to do that again."
That actually reminds me, like the first time I went out, or one of the times I went out and stayed with John Meadows, he was in Arnold's prep, and he was like 5 weeks out, and he had just started putting a burger and fries and a donut in on Sundays, right? And I think I got there Monday, so I just missed that, And he's like, "Yeah, man, I had my first free meal in 5 weeks or 7 weeks or something like that." I'm like, "That ain't nothing, bitch. Like, I went 22 without one." He's like, "With who?" And I'm like, "With you." And he's like, you didn't have a free meal the whole time?" I'm like, "Yeah, like prep started, like I intuitively just I'm done doing free meals, He's like, "Oh, I probably should have told you to throw them back in at some point, huh?" And I'm like,
Yeah, maybe.
If that's what you wanted, yes, telling me would be key.
All right. How far is too
There's
far?
Peyton. See that? I'm getting bread.
He's
See
with
that?
us?
You bitch a little bit and get it. So I'm still her favorite. Good.
How far is too far to travel to a decent gym? And follow-up question, what's the furthest you guys have ever driven on a regular basis to get to the gym you trained at?
40 minutes on the regular. And depending on what I mean, for me, when I owned my stores, that was about the max because that's all the hours in the day. But later in my career, I'd go an hour. I'd go an hour every day if it was worth it.
That's how I am. We lived up in the high country in Colorado. It was an hour because we were just nowhere near civilization. Down here in Fort Lauderdale, I'd drive to Miami because the gyms in Miami are just next level.
Mm-hmm.
I drive about 30, 35 every day back and forth to get to my 40. So,
yeah.
I did
whatever it's worth to you.
I did like 45 in rush hour to get there, and then 20 minutes home.
No.
And that was my regular. And then on Wednesdays, it would be 45 to get there, and then an hour in rush hour home. Something like
schedule
that.
flop. Yeah. I do want to point out, Jennifer put in the comments, Peter looked insane after Andrew gave him a burger and fries for nationals, and he got fifth.
Well, and that's the thing. We got to be fair. It does work well for some people. It gets a negative label or connotation because it's something that has been picked up by trainers who don't know what they're doing.
100%.
And now it's just like, oh, burger fry. You got to have a burger fry. Even a bikini girl, I'm like, what the hell? You need a tiny waist. The last thing you need to be doing is eating a burger and a fry.
Yeah.
And as an example, one of the things that I have always used, we're talking 20 years maybe, about 15 to 20 minutes before going on stage, half of a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit from McDonald's and about 6 to 8 ounces of full sugar Coke. And it's all obviously garbage. It's loaded with sodium, loaded with shitty carbs and fat. Mm-hmm. And the visual, the change within 10 minutes is just crazy. You just start popping. But you have to be in ridiculous condition.
Yep. That's the key right there. It only matters if you're already diced out of your head.
Sure.
I also think it needs to be something. It's kind of, it's what you do to skip for forever with the skip loading. Like, you didn't just random at the end go, oh, let's wing this. It's like you have experience with the person's body. You know what works for them. You know what doesn't work with them, what not to give them. So a regular for me is I have all of my clients buy a box of Pop-Tarts before they go to the show.
No.
And that's just because I'm like, and sometimes we don't use them. They wake up in the morning, they're blown out full, and I'm like, sorry, I kind of pump faked you the Pop-Tarts. You can eat them after the show.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're needed. When Nikki did her first show with Ron last year, she was backstage, and I looked at her. I'm like, when are you on? She said, about an hour. And I was like, get a little pump. She got a pump. I'm like, I'll be right back. I ran. I'm like, eat these 2 Pop-Tarts, drink 4 ounces of water. She's like, what? I'm like, trust me. She eats them. And I said, all right, I'll be back in like 20, 30 minutes. I come back. I'm like, get a little pump. And she just exploded. And I'm like, there you go. Sodium, fat, carbs. Yep. And it's such a small amount of substance. It's why I like to use it.
It's a small volume of food.
It's a tiny amount of food that packs a huge punch. But again, if you're not in shape, you're just eating a Pop-Tart.
And then everybody's going to look at you and go, you dumbass. You look like that because, Now, it was funny. Colorado, 2002. I hadn't competed in quite a while. We had just moved to Colorado a few years earlier. And I had really had fun at the Northern Colorado because I stayed covered up, and I hadn't competed in a while. And I stayed covered up, wasn't warming up, and I was just slowly eating Krispy Kremes. And I had a couple guys laugh at me, until I took off my sweatsuit. And it wasn't a big show, and I wasn't, I'm a mediocre bodybuilder at best, but my condition was, and they were just like, holy shit. And of course, I had a million questions, including Phil Heath.
Yeah.
His buddy who was with him was like, oh my God, he's eating donuts. And Phil told him to shut up because he's in better condition than I am. It literally said that. It was kind of, and the kid was like, oh.
I got one other thing I want to share with you guys. This is also in the Facebook group here. All right. Dorian Yates, Jay Cutler, 2 legends, 2 dynasties, 1 iconic pose. Who has the better back double bicep?
Do we have to answer?
Well, here's the deal. I feel
the picture's doing a lot of answering for me, so.
I feel, though, like the picture of Jay is angled up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And the picture of Dorian is straight on. You know what I mean?
It's not the scale either.
Yeah, I wonder. I would love to see, like, if you could 3D animate them both at scale on the same stage.
I'm wondering if AI is going to do that in the future.
Oh, they should.
Where we could take and mimic the same lighting for the same show for bodybuilders and really come up with who is the best.
Yeah. Maybe make the backdrop black at a pro show so you can pretend it was set up properly.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Didn't they? The Olympia said they would do that this year.
Yep.
I think so. Long awaited, but yeah.
They said they were going to do something last year where they were like the bottom half would be dark. You know what I mean? And then the sponsors would be above that.
Well, they took out the laser show too. That was a little much.
Yeah,
Were
that
you
was
there
a
in
lot.
2021?
No,
Yeah.
I was
That dude, I'm not epileptic, but I was like.
But you were after
having
that show.
seizures. Dude. And the music was so dang loud
Yeah.
that you couldn't even talk to the person right next to you. It was not a good experience,
No,
honestly.
it was incredibly overstimulating.
Yeah.
The music at the last year was real. It was loud, but I thought it worked. Like the bass was really deep, and I just felt that like it felt like an experience to me. I thought they did a good job with that aspect.
Yeah, last year was solid.
Nice.
You guys are all going to be there at
Oh,
the
yeah.
Olympia this year, right?
Yep.
Andrew?
Not sure yet.
I don't know if I
Scott?
will be. I have no idea.
Okay, well, Dusty and I are hanging out. So
We'll be there for sure.
Depends
Bring
if
your
Mute
cat.
wants to bring me. We'll find out.
I don't think I've missed one in like 20 years. So
Yeah.
Really.
I've been to one.
You've been to one.
It's just so weird. Yeah, it's weird to me. The only one I went to was the one in Orlando.
Oh, yeah,
there-
that's where I met
saw
you.
Andrew there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
that's
there
right.
with a client of mine, too.
I loved
Otherwise,
it in
I wouldn't
Orlando.
Yeah.
It
Me too.
was so great.
It's a drive. It's a
It was
2-hour drive. For me.
great. I mean, just being there, I dreaded it being there the whole time because I've been so stuck on Vegas. And then I went and I was like, this is fantastic.
Yep.
So I'll never go back, but I loved it.
Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in. And Dusty, we appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us, man.
We're not done yet.
Oh, you got more? What do you
I
got?
have something that needs to be handled.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
What do you got, man?
I got to put an It's Just Bodybuilding twist on this.
Oh, okay.
I
What's
have
up?
to because I'm here.
Okay.
Gentlemen, there is no accurately rated. There is overrated and underrated. Here we go.
All right.
Overrated, underrated. Constantly changing workouts / muscle confusion.
Overrated.
I'm trying to figure out. So I have to say underrated or overrated?
Yes.
Okay. Constantly changing.
Workouts / muscle confusion.
Yeah, overrated.
Overrated. We can all agree on that one. That's an easy one.
Influencers as role models.
Is that a joke?
Yeah.
Big O.
Over.
Olympia size
Yeah,
overrated.
big O. Big O.
Underrated. Underrated.
Underrated. See, I love Scott choosing
Okay.
the opposite side. Why is it underrated, Scott?
Because if that were the case, no, I guess that's true because nobody should really be listening. I was going to say because that would include us, but nobody should really be listening.
They're not
to
looking at us as
anything
role
we say.
models.
Yeah.
Some things they're looking at as what not to do.
Right.
If you don't make better life choices, this is what you're doing at 4 o'clock. All right. Female specific training.
There's no middle ground.
No, hell
I'm
no,
saying
Scott Jr.
overrated then.
Then I'll say underrated. Underrated.
All right. Why is it underrated?
Well, I work with a lot of wellness and bikini girls, and a lot of them we pull upper body training right out at some point in their development, especially in the pro level.
Yeah.
At some point you don't need more delts and shoulders and lat width.
In
You
back,
really
your
just
back's
gotta
going to get covered up
Yeah,
anyway with your
but
hair.
a guy may not need more if he has incredible shoulder development too. So that might not be male female.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, to use the extreme example, like,
But what about like Andrew? The line that I know she was trying to run is the amount of girls who, like, if they want their legs to get big, they're doing bodyweight lunges all over the gym. They're doing cable kickbacks with 5 pounds. They're
Right.
doing clamshells, and they're not squatting.
That's
they're
how I
not
was
doing
looking at it,
hacks.
too.
I gotcha. I'm gonna still stick with what I say, and but that being said, like any of the bikini and wellness girls I know and work with, they're not doing the pink dumbbell, tiny 5-pound kickbacks. Like we're talking hip thrusts more than all three of us can do. Probably we're
Right.
talking,
Yeah.
single leg squats with probably male weights.
There you go.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stick with what I said.
Having the perfect gym equipment.
Hey, I didn't get to go, but I'm with Andrew. I'm with Andrew just because of the specificity in all the like lower body training that's going to happen. You might be doing lower body
Valid.
3 times a week. So just echoing what he said.
So, having the perfect gym equipment, overrated or underrated?
Overrated, but I would prefer to have that over an environment. I can deal with a shitty environment, but good equipment, and that's an age thing.
Right.
I agree with Skip. Like, I would rather have the equipment over the environment. Yeah.
You'd rather have the good quality equipment, or
Like, let's say you have the best gym with all the cool, like you like this Panada piece for this new tech for this Atlantis hack for that, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's tons of gym bros with cameras and taking pictures, and they're kind of their gym bags in your way, and like I would take that versus a dead gym with the music I want to play, but a shitty equipment load.
Yep.
Right.
yeah.
I can make it work. That's why I said it was overrated, but I would prefer not to.
So that's the magic right there. That's where the game comes into play, Skip. It's like I remind people that I always say that In-N-Out Burger is overrated. I didn't say it's not good.
Right.
I said it's overrated.
I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah. You haven't had enough. If In-N-Out is the best burger you ever had, you got to get out more. You got to have better. You got to have better burgers than that.
All right, now to the things that people really want to know. Remakes of movies, over or underrated?
I'm trying to think of a good remake.
Over.
What's a good remake?
Remakes suck.
Yeah, overrated.
Oh, shit.
Wait on you, Scott.
Overrated always in
Overrated.
this scenario. Yeah, go back and watch the original. Although that said, sometimes you go back to watch the original and it was like from 1930 and you just can't even, you know what I mean, 1930, you can't even watch
All
it.
I think of
ruined.
All I think of is Grease too. That's
No,
all I have to.
Time out. Have you guys ever seen the original Invisible Man? Black and white.
so.
They
No.
made a guy look invisible, like walking around, hat on, clothes on. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out. It was what 1920. I don't know. Really, like 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember being a kid, even then, watching it, and being like, "How do they do this? Like,
Right.
they didn't have the technology to do special effects to make the people
Yeah.
look invisible."
Right.
Yeah. It was like a series
know.
of mirrors, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it probably took a lot more work than it does now to do the same thing.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Summer vacations.
Underrated. Best thing in the world.
I never go on vacation. That's the thing. So I don't know.
Me too, but I did last year for 2 days. We went to Traverse City, this is Michigan. If you guys don't know, if you're from Michigan, you use your hand to show you the map of Michigan. Traverse City's boop up there, and it's beautiful Lake Michigan sands. Got to nice 2 days, and it's like cool little town. They have fudge, all sorts of great food, and I didn't think about work. It was perfect. I loved it. It was great unplugged.
What do you think,
Yeah,
Skip?
I think they're underrated. Let's be honest. Don't we all have a little bit of anxiety? When I get ready to go on vacation, I have to do so much more work.
Yeah.
And then when I come back, I got to do so much more work. Sometimes I do question whether it's worth it. The actual vacation is a nice break because, and I don't know how you guys do it, but I break. I'm not training. It's going to be rare if I train while I'm on vacation. I just want to unplug from everything.
Yep. I don't train ever when I vacation. I get that all the time. Oh, if you're over there, go to this gym. I'm like, not going to happen.
No.
And I remember when we went on our Dominican the first time, Skip, we go out there, and of course they see us like, oh, we got a great gym. I go, you don't have to walk me over there.
That's right.
Don't even need to know where it is. Doesn't matter.
Let me know where I can get the best
You
French
show me
toast.
where the margaritas are. That's where I need to know.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple more. Fireworks. 4th of July is coming.
That's funny. I think overrated. I got them right out here. I can stand in my living room and watch them from Mar-a-Lago.
I'm going to say overrated too, just because we live in 2025. You know, like when if we lived in like 1900, a fireworks show was like the happening thing of the year.
Yeah.
You know what I
When we
mean?
were
Like,
kids, it was cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's
Overrated. Maddie, our little dog, does not like fireworks, and it's a very traumatic 3 days for her. Also, we do fireworks at different times here in the U.S. than in Canada. So, like, Labor Day, Memorial Day, every other holiday, there's fireworks in our neighborhood. You know,
Out in LA right now.
yeah, right. The only thing we don't do is fireworks on Halloween. Versus Canada does fireworks on Halloween.
They do everything weird.
I do want to point out during the COVID year when they banned fireworks in the whole U.S. or whatever, most of the cities did. I thought it was really awesome to see like Florida and like some of the other states just had these awesome fireworks displays from people's rooftops, like different parks and stuff. Like that was pretty cool.
That was more cool because of what they were saying to the world
Freedom.
than the fireworks themselves.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I had to get some basic information out for It's Just Bodybuilding crew, and we got that handled. So, Scott, you're allowed to cut the show I was invited on and didn't allow you to stop me.
Beautiful. I appreciate it. I would expect nothing less from you, Dusty. That was good. We just did a cool reaction that will be coming out after this show. So Dusty, I think that was my all-time favorite reaction we have ever done, man.
Not even close.
It was so good.
Scott found the gem of gems. Can I say it?
Yeah, tell him about it.
It was from 1996, but a couple of guys from Australia filmed their entire experience at the Arnold Classic.
Flying over,
starting eating
like
breakfast,
two guys,
going to the expo.
Two big dudes on a plane, you know what I mean? Shoulder to shoulder. Yeah,
and
all
think
the way
about it,
through.
like, it's not like now. These guys had a camcorder on their shoulder to get this done. And it was funny because at the end of the episode, I told Scott, I'm like, man, I mean, think about this. To see it, you know, I mean, how do you even upload that? And Scott goes, upload what?
Yeah, he was like, man,
to where?
Like, how would you edit that and drop it? I was like, what do you mean drop it? You know?
I forget those things didn't even exist. I was like, how do you even edit that? He goes, you don't edit it. You hit stop.
Yeah.
And when you're ready to film something else, you hit play. I'm like, a record. I'm like, oh.
It was so good. He had footage of like all the competitors on stage too, and it was an awesome show.
He was also like front row.
Yeah.
So his video, because we watched afterwards the video, like the professional video, his was better.
Yeah.
The physiques were also
like up close.
Bananas in 96.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was an awesome show. So I'm excited for that one. If no one else likes it, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too, completely.
Because we had a blast.
We appreciate everybody tuning in. Of course, go to Bodyberry to reach out to Andrew, Team Skip to reach out to Skip. And how do they reach you, Dusty, if they want to hit you up for coaching?
You just shoot me an email, dusty@dustyhanshaw.com.
Easy enough. I'll put that in the description. Of course, you can hit me up, McNallyDiets@gmail.com. And, of course, thank you to TrueNutrition.com. Use our code Think over there. SupplementSource.ca for Canadians. Great deals that change week to week. And thank you to everybody on Patreon. We got a bunch of listener questions that we're going to tackle on the next episode for another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Gear. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Dusty. Thanks, everybody.